Hello, and welcome back to the Talent Pieces podcast. I'm your host, Carlos Elit. And here, we're all about talent and culture for entrepreneur, startup founders, and business leaders looking to scale their company effectively. If you find today's episode helpful, don't forget to share it with a fellow entrepreneur. You can follow the Talent Pieces podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you, everyone, for joining one more time an episode of the Talent Pieces podcast. Today, I have Anastasia Simon joining us from Techstars. What a pleasure to have you here. It's always great chatting with you.
Yeah, excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself. I know, you've been in the ATL space ecosystem for quite some years already as part of Techstars, but, congratulations. I know you became manager and director last year. That's huge. So tell us a little bit more about your career.
So my career is a very long, windy road. Like I tell people, as an elder millennial, so I graduated in 2007, right as that recession was kicking up, the '08 recession. And the chosen profession that I wanted to go into was publishing. So went to school for textiles and apparel merchandising, so working in the fashion industry. Wanted to originally go work like at a magazine. I'd been interning at a magazine. I'd worked Fashion Week, done all those cool things, and there were no jobs. When I
Ain't nobody got money for that.
It was like, girl, we barely got money for anything. Silly goose. We don't have money for clothes. We don't have money for houses. And so with that, I just took a bunch of jobs. I became very entrepreneurial.
Okay.
Was selling my closet on eBay, which was a very common thing to do at the time. So it was like I would go to vintage stores, thrift stores, all that stuff, and then sell stuff on eBay just so I could make ends meet with paying my student loans.
That's the real hustle.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was always a hustler. I was always someone who was like, I will figure it out. So I'd done a lot of work as a freelance writer in Atlanta. I was working kind of more in the fashion and merchandising kind of space, and was then given the opportunity to work at a startup that was focused on changing the way that we manufacture clothing and textile goods. So software automation. So I came on initially to do like sales and moved into the marketing manager role because I was the person on the team who understood garment construction and how to speak to the apparel value chain.
Right.
And so you have a bunch of engineers and then you have me and they're talking about how you sew something. I'm like, yes, so you got to set the sleeve and you got to do, and they're like, what do you
How do you code that?
Right. And so I'm in the meetings translating between our engineering team and then the folks who were on the side of our customers,
Right.
who were apparel people who lived and breathed apparel manufacturing. So I did that for about 2.5, 3 years, then moved to Spinrilla, which was a music tech startup based here in Atlanta, where I ran all of our marketing campaigns and activations. So I was the head of marketing and communication. Left that company, then ended up at Shadow Ventures with KP Reddy, who, if you're in the Atlanta tech scene, everybody knows KP. Worked with him, I guess, like for about 3 years. I was there when we started forming the thesis for what would become Shadow Ventures. And like I tell people, it was a wild ride through COVID.
Oh
if
my
you
God.
were an emerging fund manager, it was fun times.
Yeah. COVID was
It was great. It was great. We were working out of the WeWork right up the street in Buckhead. And I will never forget, one day we're all in the office and WeWork sends out a memo and they're like, we are moving to fractional staff. And I was like, we are taking our stuff home because nobody's going to be cleaning this building, and that is disgusting.
Yeah.
And I think I went back to that office once to like get my stuff, and that was it.
I think that resonates a lot for me with my experience with COVID. I still remember it was Friday, March 13th, and this is Honduras, right? And I was having the last conversation with my team, and I was like, okay, we're going to discuss this on Monday. That never happened.
Monday never came.
The next time I went to the office, I was picking up my stuff because I was ready to start puzzle.
Right.
So crazy times, but it definitely gets the creativity to figure out things, the struggle, right? And the other thing about your career that resonates is, you never know what that side hustle will help you in your next career opportunity or just in the future, right? For going figuring out your way around.
Right.
I remember, and again, this is Honduras economy
Yeah.
back in the days, right? My mom used to give me probably like $2 to go to high school. And with the $2, I had to figure out public transportation and my food. So I was like, wow, even for Honduras, that's a tight
Yeah.
budget. And then I learned how to do like bracelets,
Mm-hmm.
and it will cost me like 20 cents
Mm-hmm.
to do each bracelet. And then I'll sell them for $1. And that's how but that's the real hustle. Like, that's where
Yeah.
you learn how to, okay, the struggle is what really helps you, develop those skills, negotiate, figure out your pricing. And I'm assuming that's where, Techstars come into place for you.
Yes.
That's kind of all those learnings come into this new career, which, by the way, I love your LinkedIn post announcing your promotion. I was like, that's the real story. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes whenever we tell our story, we forgot to talk about the struggle. And I think that's very important, especially for new entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So they can get to understand that they are probably in the right path if they're struggling. They're probably in the right path if it makes zero sense.
Yes.
Like, it's not going to define where they are going to end.
Yeah. But it's also, so I have a couple of friends who are significantly younger, because I'm on like the kind of earlier end of the millennial generation. They're kind of on like that younger end. And I tell them all the time, because they will be texting me and it's like, I feel like I'm a failure. I'm 27, 28. I can't get into a career and all these things. And I'm like, you're not a failure until the end.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
you're not at the end of your story. And I think as a society, sometimes we like to glamorize the end.
Yeah.
And so as an entrepreneur, you're like, well, I'm not, Sarah Blakely with Spanx, or I'm not looking at like Tope with Calendly. Like, you're like, I'm not these people. I don't have the money. I don't, it's like, no, you don't know how hard they worked.
Because we only see the overnight success.
Right.
It's
sometimes
never overnight. I try not to be tragic or scare anyone from entrepreneurship during this podcast, but at the same time, I want them to understand the real deal, and that early failure, or what it's perceived as failure, is not really failure until it's over. Until it's over.
And you could always choose again. Like, that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You pivot, right?
You pivot.
You will always pivot. Pivoting can look like closing your business, giving yourself like 6 months and starting something completely new that then becomes your big success.
Yeah.
I think, you were making a point about resilience and about how struggle teaches you, to be more resilient. And like, I don't want to glamorize struggle at all, because it's hard.
It's hard. It is very hard.
Like, there have been times where I'm like, ooh, I don't know where that money gonna come from. I mean, I am very privileged in that my parents have always given me a long runway, right?
Right.
I know some people don't have that. But I do believe that when you have the kids who are like starting a lemonade stand. I know when I was in high school, there were girls who their parents would go to like Sam's or Costco and buy chips. And they would take the chips that their parents would buy for the house, put them in their backpack, bring them to school, and sell them for like 50 cents.
That's the hustle.
And they were hustlers. If you have that kind of spirit that you're going to make something out of nothing, you're probably going to be successful at whatever it is, whether it's entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship, or just building a career,
Yeah. And again, I love what you said about pivoting. Like, if this is not working, it doesn't necessarily means that your next idea will not work.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure that's where Techstars comes into place for helping entrepreneurs figuring out how to make their idea successful. So just for the broader audience that is not super familiar to what Techstar is, if you can give us a quick overview, and of course, like, how does this, because I know they have different programs. So
yes.
How does that work?
Yeah, so Techstars, we are one of the largest kind of accelerator platforms. We run programs as far away as Tokyo.
Wow.
So we have one in Tokyo. We have some in Europe. The vast majority of our programs are here in the U.S. And while big may sound impressive, I think the best part of Techstars is that we are very focused on supporting founders.
Right.
Everything we do is done from the lens of how can we help these entrepreneurs go out and then make our society a better place, because we truly believe that entrepreneurs are the driving force of change and progress within our society.
And the economy and
yeah, as a whole.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you need jobs and you
Yeah.
need people to work for you. And so you need people who are empowered and can go out and run really successful businesses and hire people, pay them well.
Yeah.
You need people who are coming out and looking at some of the biggest challenges that we are being faced with. For example, my program is focused on water tech and sustainability. And like I just told you on the way in, there's like a water main broken. There's like sewage issues. Like
there's always something happening.
There's always something flooding in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And the founders that I'm working with are looking at things of like, how do we better detect floods, in advance? How do we say, let's maybe understand that this pipe is corroded, and go in and be proactive, whether that means going in and saying, hey, we need to cut the water, we need to change this pipe out, or saying, hey, because it's corroded, lead now is going to seep into the water system, kind of like what happened in Flint.
Yeah.
And so you want to be able to empower those founders to give them the tools they need, because they already have the idea. They are doing all the hard work. I tell people my job is the easy part.
Thinking a lot about the idea and figuring out how to make it work. That's
right. The hard part is taking that idea, bringing it to fruition. All I do is help provide the support around you so that you can make better informed decisions as you grow.
Right. Absolutely. And just so people can have the bigger picture of Techstars, we're talking about over 3,700 advisors and mentors for the programs. 124 billion portfolio market cap. I was actually doing the research yesterday, and it came, it's not surprising because I know that you all have a lot of portfolio companies that have become very successful.
Yes.
But it's like day-to-day things that we use as entrepreneurs.
Yes.
But also I was checking the case for Remitly, which is one of the companies, and I'm like, it's something that, yes, I use to send money to Honduras.
Yeah.
But my aunt uses, like my mom uses it. So I'm like, wow, there is a bigger audience that is getting served when we think about tech companies. We usually think like, oh, that's for the younger audience, but no, we're building solutions for the entire population, like for everyone to use. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's not just B2B SaaS either, or things like that. I mean, so one of my favorite interactions with a Techstars portfolio company is Aunt Flo. If you go into the Benz, so you're at the stadium, you're a woman, you go into the restroom, Aunt Flo has these little vending machines where if you need, feminine care products, they're free. Just grab a pad, put it on, and you're good. That's a Techstars company. Another one that I use all the time, ClassPass. So
I have not used it.
It's my jam. It is my jam.
My wife has insisted on, we should try ClassPass. We're sticking to one place. Like, we should try different places.
You should use it.
Okay.
And I'm not just saying that because they're like I use it. I have used ClassPass for years. I love it because, one, I do want to be able to hop around to different places, try different workouts. But because I travel, so my fiance and I were in Houston, I guess that was October, for a friend's birthday. And I was like, oh, I want to go to spin class. And instead of me having to figure out things, nope, I just put it on ClassPass. I got to see where the nearest spin class was. We signed up. I was able to get my Sunday Soul Cycle in and not miss a beat. And I think that's the best part of it. If you go to an area and you're like, hey, I need to work out while I'm on a work trip or something.
Right.
It's good because then you don't have to worry about, do I need to get a Equinox special or something crazy,
You know what I hate about that statement is my wife will see this episode and she will tell me, see, I was right.
It's cheap. And it's cheap. It's not that expensive. Stop being cheap. Just get the ClassPass.
All right. So on the water tech, I know the focus, or can you tell us more about the focus and why Alabama? Because I know you all focus on different states, different cities, but tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I think the first thing, we're partnered with the Tuscaloosa Chamber for Economic Development and with the University of Alabama.
Okay.
The University of Alabama, whether you know it or not, has some first-class water, I want to say labs and resources available. So they have a lab that is partnered with NOAA, also with the USGS. So the National Weather Service, all of the people who are trying to get a handle on what's going on with water, in our country, they're partnered with them. They're operating off of their campus. And so they have an abundance of resources, to make available to those founders.
So that's kind of the equivalent of why Atlanta is a fintech capital. Like it's very centralized here. Then water tech, it's very centralized.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also want to think too, like I tell people, when you look at the Southeast as a region, we have some very interesting water challenges, right? So you have places like Miami, New Orleans, where I'm from, where rising sea levels are becoming a problem. You also have infrastructure issues like we mentioned in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Then you also have a lot of like chemical manufacturing and agriculture across the Southeast.
Yeah.
Like I said, growing up in New Orleans, there's like a Monsanto factory that's outside of the city. And there's an area that they would call like Cancer Alley, where you had all of these different manufacturing facilities that were poisoning both the air and the groundwater.
And I think we just had something similar here the other day where there was an explosion.
Yeah.
You can smell the chlorum or something like that.
So the good thing is that I live in Cobb County, so I didn't... Like, sorry.
ATL.
Sorry. I live in Cobb County, and we were a little bit north of that.
Yeah.
But yes, so you have all of these different things that are going on that I think the general public is not super aware of.
Yeah.
But if you are someone who's trying to solve some of these public health issues, if you're trying to get a handle, because again, we got hurricanes in the Southeast, so you get flooding,
Yeah.
And you have to think about all of these different points where water is our most precious resource. And water is something that can turn on a dime. A river gives life, but it can also take it away.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you're familiar with that.
I come from a tropical rainforest.
Right.
We get hurricanes all the time.
Right. No. And it's oddly enough, because like my dad was in the military, and with the Corps of Engineers, he went down to Honduras to do some projects and was there for a while. And it was stuff that was related to
hurricanes.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Which again, I'm from the Gulf Coast. We live with it. It is what it is. And so I think that also makes us a really good place for when we talk about water.
Right.
So some of the things that we're looking at, I know this last class, we had a lot of solutions around filtration. We had some stuff at the intersection of agriculture and water. A couple different solutions. One that's really interesting is looking at hydroponics, because indoor farming is going to be a necessity going forward. And they were like, how do we take all this water that's flowing through when we talk about hydroponics and turn that kinetic energy from the water flowing through into something that's usable? And so they found a solution for that. So it's hydroponic, yes, because we need indoor farming, but then also, hey, we're going to turn this water into power, so it's hydropower. And so that's the kind of
maximize the amount of what you take from as a resource. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So because, again, we're talking about different programs in different cities.
Yeah.
What happens if I am a startup in Seattle that is focused in water tech? Can I still apply to Alabama?
Yes. So while I am very bullish on the Southeast as a region, because I'm from here and because I think we have some amazing founders, amazing companies, we are looking at companies who want to be exposed to Alabama as well. So if you're saying, hey, I'm in Seattle, I'm doing this great solution, well, do you want to come hang out with me in Alabama for the next 12 to 13 weeks?
That's a lot.
And it's a lot, but let me say this. So we are in a college town. UA is like king of, LSU's gonna hate me for this, but UA is like king when it comes to like SEC football. And so I also think, they're going to...
Tough topic there.
I mean, they're going to take my degree for it. But but I would say, especially if you're someone who's not familiar with how that looks and what that feels like, it's a great experience. Everybody is incredibly welcoming. It's that Southern hospitality.
Right.
And there are a lot of opportunities through the state that if you want to come in and fund your business, there's funding available through the state. There is a lot of recreation. I know you and I were joking earlier. I was like, it's a college town. You're 35. You don't want to hang out with 21-year-olds. I mean, if you do, that's a little creepy. I'm not judging. I listen and I don't judge, but I'm a Virgo, so I always judge. And so for me, there's outdoor recreation. So like I love to hike. I love
we can do trails. Yeah.
you can hike,
Yeah.
kayak. There's some water sports, things like that. There's a lake in Tuscaloosa, so there's that kind of stuff that you want to get into. There's a lot
That
of
resonates better.
festivals.
Yeah.
Right. So there's cool stuff to do, especially even if you have like a young family,
Right.
things like that. So it is a great place if you want to put down roots. There's space for that, and there is capital that the state is making available to help with that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. Hey there. Quick break. If you're enjoying today's session, don't forget to hit subscribe and give us those 5 stars. It will help us grow a lot. Now, back to our conversation. And that's what helps, right? Like the ecosystems grow when there's involvement from multiple parties aligned in the same direction. Now, that is specifically for, the Water Techstars program. Now, if what will you advise to, startup founders probably not defining they already have a business model. They already, I will say they have their customers. They already have their product. How do they figure out where to go and where to apply, and what can they expect from Techstars?
That's a great question. So we do a lot of content on our LinkedIn, on Twitter, or what do we call? I'm not calling it that. Twitter.
Twitter it is.
Yeah. Instagram, a lot of different platforms where we're putting out content. We have a lot of webinars that we do where you can get to know the teams who run the various programs that we have. So we have programs that are industry agnostic, where we're just looking for the best possible founder who's in the tech-enabled space. We have programs that are regionally focused. We have programs that are focused on specific verticals. So the first thing I always tell people is go out and engage, right? So you want to go out and say, well, what is this Techstars? Do they have something that suits the flavor that I'm looking for? Right. So let me go on the internet. That's the easiest thing. Google. Do your Googles.
Do your
Googles. Then the other thing I would say, so if you say, hey, okay, I know I'm in water tech. Maybe I also have an energy element, so we have an energy program as well. That's in Birmingham, like 30 minutes away from the water tech program.
Right.
So you might say, okay, these 2 programs, I could fit either one, right? Then what you're going to say is, let me engage with those teams, right? So you have Matt and Rama who run our energy program. They're amazing folks. You're going to get to know them. You're going to go out and you're going to get to know them, learn about them, understand like how they move, what they are looking for in companies, and get a feel for, are they the people that you want to work with, right?
Yeah.
You would do the same with me.
Yeah. I think Charles Robinson was mentioning that, during his podcast session it's not just about the money, but where the money comes from. Like,
yes.
There has to be a alignment in terms of your vision, your values as an entrepreneur, and in this case with Techstars, right? Which I think you guys have, a great mission, great commitment. There's a great value to what you guys are doing beyond just the early investment in the company. But they have to feel that, right? Like they because they're running the show for their business.
Right.
They have to feel like, okay, I can commit to also, we're talking about 13-week program, which is heavily, like there's a lot of time that needs to be invested there. Worth it, totally worth it. But and the other part about what you were saying, it's like go out there, network, go out there, ask. Sometimes, especially when you're starting to do these things as an entrepreneur for year 1 and year 2, it's like, is Google the right place to go? And it is. Like I ended up being in Atlanta, in the Atlanta Tech Village, and getting my puzzle started here on a Google search, sitting in Honduras.
Right.
Like, you never know where it's going to take you unless you try. And then I know y'all try to become also very available. One of the things that I did love, which is how we actually connected the very first time, is I booked a 15-minute call with you.
Yes.
I was like, hey, 15 minutes, let's make it very efficient.
Right.
You can get a lot of answers in 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, what do you guys invest in? What are you guys looking for? And what resonates? Like, I had questions about potentially opening a second business, and then you gave me your feedback and thoughts around that, and I was like, that's very insightful. Like, I got everything I needed to know in 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also very impressive.
Oh, no. I'm all about efficient, because I feel like most meetings should be no more than 30 minutes. Like, you got 30 minutes. Like, why are we talking so long?
And a lot of them will be an email.
Yeah. 90% of the meetings that you like log on to should be an email. But I think so Charles makes a really kind of salient point. It's not just about the money, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's Techstars or any other early stage investor or accelerator program, it is always about making sure that that person can help you outside of just a check. Like a great
Right.
investor is going to cut you a check and be able to kind of advise and support you. Particularly, that's very important for early stage companies, you know, because there's so much that you need to learn very quickly. And if your early stage investor just comes in, gives you a check, walks away, and like that's probably like the most neutral kind of case, you
Right.
know? What you want is someone who is going to support you, you
And,
know?
and be there for your business.
Right.
And then, so do you guys, again, following on what
Yeah,
Charles was
yeah.
saying, like, will you guys support an entrepreneur find their next round and
Yeah.
their next, like, investment or whatever needs they have?
So first off, I'm gonna have to have a whole conversation with Charles. Like, I mean, so Charles, to be fair, has mentored for Techstars
Yeah.
programs. He was our investor in residence, or one of our investors in
Yeah.
residence for our last water tech class. So he has some great advice. But you're just reminding me I need to hit him up. So
You're in trouble, bro.
now he's gonna hear this and be like, "What I do?" But so what I was saying, you know, when it comes to like supporting founders post program, right? So right now I have 12 companies who have just gone through a Techstars program, and my inbox is overflowing with introductions, requests to other investors in my network with, hey, can you send this forwardable to this amazing investor who I know would be great, you know,
Right.
for us to talk to about potentially raising our round. So you have a lot of that kind of support. Because I mean, at the end of the day, as a managing director, you are also managing your portfolio. So you're
Right.
still providing advice, you're still providing support, you are still helping them connect to the people they need to connect to, whether it's investors or customers, you know?
Right.
But then you also have the broader Techstars network that they get access to. I'm also constantly connecting my portfolio companies with other MDs, because if you're like, hey, I'm in New York, I'm like, let me hit you up and connect you with the New York team, because they know the New York market way better than I ever could.
Right.
You know, one of my founders this morning was like, I have questions about the market in Japan because I have a Japanese potential customer. And I'm like, I know anime, I don't know Japan.
That's about it.
Like the most I know is what's going on Naruto. So you need to go and talk to someone in Japan. And thankfully we have an MD who's in Tokyo who knows the market really well. And I
Wow.
will connect you with him so that he can give you his perspective on what's going on the ground there and potentially connect you to people who can be advantageous to grow your business, right?
Yeah. And that's the great part, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's the impact and the support beyond the money.
Right.
Now, what do you think is the landscape for entrepreneurs in 2025? How do they get ready for Techstars in case they're thinking about it?
So I'm going to say 2025 is been a wild card so far.
And it's
That's
the first 200 days of January were crazy.
And when you said that, I was like, was it 200 days? That feels right. No, it does feel right though. But I think like for entrepreneurs right now, I want them to be focused on their business, right? I will
Yeah.
tell you all the time, you need to be focused on building a business that can scale, building a business that is sustainable and resilient. 'Cause
Resilient, yeah.
resilient is the big word I want everyone to take through for 2025, that we have seen a lot of curveballs so far
Right.
with the markets and things like that. Building a resilient business that will take you through all of that.
Right.
Building a business that does not rely solely on regulations and subsidies, particularly when I talk about like in the sustainability space, right?
Right.
Building a business where you understand what is driving the private sector to be a purchaser,
Right.
so that if things are going left with the public sector, you already have a plan, you know?
Exactly. Like, at the end, you need to think about a profitable business
Yes.
model that will scale
That's it.
in the long run. Yeah.
That's it. That's all you should be focusing on. That's what you should be focusing on. I think when we talk about if you want to apply to Techstars, you want to get into Techstars, that's what you should be focusing on.
Making it profitable.
Right?
Everyone will ask you
Building
the same
a
question.
scalable, profitable business. And I want you to be audacious.
Yeah.
I feel like there are a lot of founders who are afraid to be audacious. I work with a lot of I hate saying underrepresented, because It feels so weird. I work with a lot of like Black and brown founders, a lot
Right.
of female founders, a lot of founders who do not fit that Silicon Valley mold of what it means to be a successful founder.
Right.
And what I would say is that focus on building your business. Focus on being resilient. You already have that in you. Like you just mentioned, growing up in Honduras, your mom's like, here's $2. You're going to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah.
That's a use case in being resilient.
Yeah.
You know? So focus on that. Focus on building that scalable business and be audacious. Dream big, right? What is the hairy, audacious goal that you are holding inside that you're afraid to verbalize? You don't become a $1 billion business by playing small.
I agree. And I think to what you were saying right now, and it resonates a lot with, my personal journey, because coming here from Honduras to open the business and learn the US way of everything, yes, underrepresented, yes, minority, whatever you want to call
However
it.
you say it.
But if I would have just focused on that, I'll probably will still be in Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
I came here and I was like, I got to make it work. I got to figure it out. I got to understand what's the market and how to make it profitable. Simple.
Yes.
Like, because if not, then you get sidetracked by a lot of those things that will take energy away from you.
Yeah. You can't give your energy to someone else's crazy, is what I say.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a problem with your accent, or if somebody has a problem with your ethnicity or your whatever, because people got problems with everything. It's like I tell people all the time, kids tease you whether you're short, tall, big, small. They find something to have a beef with you about, right? That's not your problem. That's their problem. Yeah. And when you start internalizing their problem, you are now taking on someone else's crazy and derailing yourself from your greatness.
Yeah.
I
always make fun that I embrace my Sofia Vergara English. Like, if you got it. Like, was it perfect? Probably not, but you got it.
Like I tell people all the time, we did a webinar I guess it was last month. I'm saying, like, now I'm really second guessing myself of how long January was.
I'm telling you, yeah.
But so we did a session and it was with one of our MDs from Paris, and she kind of made a joke about her English. And I was like, girl, we are from the South. I don't know that our English is doing
any better.
Right. I'm like, your English is perfect. I was like, compared to whatever this is we're talking about,
Makes sense. Well, you get to learn. Like, that's a good part.
Yeah.
Now, talking about that, diverse pool of talent that we can find, different personalities, mindsets, different type of businesses. In your personal journey, or maybe the journey of some of the founders that you have seen during your time in Techstars, how has building the right team played a role in your success, and what have you learned about finding and nurturing great talent along the way?
So the first thing is that a team for an early stage startup will make or break you, right?
Right.
If you have the wrong co-founder, or you have a weird dynamic with the founders,
that's tough.
That will tank your business.
Yeah.
That I've seen it. It'll tank your business. I've actually had a couple founders we had to coach through some tough times with in this last class, and it was things like, hey, fire that person. I'm very big on fire that person. The person is draining your energy. They're not adding value. You don't want to keep them around because you don't have the bandwidth, whether from a mental perspective, a physical perspective, and a cash flow perspective.
Your budget, yeah.
You don't have the money or the time or the energy to waste on someone who is not doing what they say they're going to do, right?
I absolutely agree. And sometimes, like, there are cases where people have a strong willingness, like, I don't have it yet, but let me learn. Let me figure it out. Like, I want to work this. I want to be I want to become an A player for your business or for your vision. That's a different case. But we're seeing people that is just like, nah, I'm an 8 to 5 and,
yeah, you
whatever.
Can't, that's the wrong person.
That's
to
the
bring
wrong
on.
person. Yeah.
So when I think about building a team, I think it comes down to the first thing: do you do what you say you're going to do?
Yeah.
Do you do? Are you impeccable with your word?
Yeah.
We all fall short, like you said. We all try our best, and sometimes your best falls flat. That's fine.
Yeah.
That is human. But if I can't trust you to do what you say you're going to do when I turn my back on you, we got a huge problem. because that's a character thing.
Yeah.
You know, that has nothing to do with like your ability to execute, right? And so I think that's the one thing that I'm always indexing for when I look at founders, when I look at founding team, when I hire people, you know, because I have a team that I work with, right? It's not just me. I'm not the only person. I have a program manager. We
Right.
had an amazing operations associate who worked with us, a student at UA who kind of helped us along the way. And with both of them, if they tell me, hey, we're going to do this by Friday, I'm okay if you tell me on Thursday, look, don't look like I'm going to get it done. Let me tell you what's up.
Yeah.
Here's a plan. Let's talk about it. You know, I'm not okay if Friday comes and it's like, girl, what? I got nothing. What are we doing?
Or on Monday, it's like, oh, yeah, about Friday.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
So this happened.
Yeah. And so a lot of it is, you know, me trying to understand and give them grace, but also you don't want to give somebody too much grace that you are now picking up their slack, you know? And I think for our founders, how do we coach them? You know, it's empathy, it's listening. And again, I will always tell you, if you tell me, I think I should fire this person, I'm going to tell you yes. If you think you should divorce your wife, you probably should.
That's already
right. If that's where your brain is going,
yeah,
that's probably what you should do. I've never seen someone say, oh, I think I should fire this person.
And
then
not be right.
Right. And then 6 months later, they're like, oh, no, they turned out to be amazing. Every time I've seen someone say, like, it's not working out, I don't know, and they just string it along, waste money, cost them contracts, and in the end, they still fire the person.
Yeah. Well, that's a great advice. But, you know, overall, this has been a great conversation. Anastasia, I really appreciate you making the time. I know this is our busy days, and they're about to get busier.
I guess.
So
it's not like I said, it's not even like I'm right now. We are gearing up for applications to open. Should be sometime later this quarter, top of next quarter. The date is finalized, but I'll let Techstars tell you when the date is. Because
absolutely.
They know, and they will tell you. In the meantime, I am always down to connect with founders. I'm here in Atlanta. You can find me. I'm usually out and about.
Follow her on LinkedIn.
Yes.
15 minutes, very valuable.
Yeah. Connect with me on LinkedIn. My office hours for tomorrow are already full, but I will be announcing some more for March and April as we get closer to those application dates. And then, like, I'm usually around. Like I tell people, I will be in Tuscaloosa sometime, probably later this month, early next month. We're putting together kind of a pizza and pitches roadshow. Once I have all those dates, I'll also make sure that that's on my LinkedIn so you know where to find me and my team, evangelizing the good word of Techstars, water tech, and sustainability. But yeah, and I also tell people I'm very easy to talk to. So if you see me out, don't be creepy and be like, I heard you on that podcast. Just like,
hi.
Don't, like, you know, you have those people who are like,
yeah,
I have seen you on the internet before. And I'm like, or you could just walk up and say, hey, you know,
I'm Carlos. This is what I do.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to say, this is what I do. Like, tell me about you. Ask me questions about me. Let's have like a real conversation like real people, not like this is a transactional meeting.
Thank you.
So creepy.
Well, thank you very much for making the time, okay?
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And that's it for today's session. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit subscribe and follow the Talent Pieces podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Remember to share this episode with a fellow entrepreneur or business leader if you find today's topic helpful. Bye for now.